Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Fighter Heart podcast. I'm sitting here with Ryan Medrano. Did I do that good?
Yeah, you got it. You got it. It's better than I used to say it.
Beautiful. Thanks for taking the time, man. We love having you on. We like to get into it pretty quickly on over here. So if you could give us a little brief rundown about who you are, maybe a little bit about your upbringing, and then get
Uh,
right into your Fighter Heart story.
all right, sounds good. I'm Ryan Medrano. A lot of people know me out there from Survivor season 43 and also from the Paralympics of 2024. I'm a two-time silver medalist. Now, getting there is the story. That's my fighter heart. That's my everyday. I deal with cerebral palsy pains, which causes nerve stimulation on my right side. That literally the other day at work, every couple of minutes, my ankle would feel like somebody was stabbing it. And I was like, my manager was like, you making a joke? I'm like, no, I'm in immense pain. And she's like, oh, my bad. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's okay. It happens a lot. But Ryan Medrano is born, or I'm born 3 months early, premature. My mom's on the lawn and her water breaks, and there's an infection on the bag holding me in there. So they kept me in as long as they possibly could, but I come out about 3 months early, causing fluid on the cerebellum of my brain, and my caused mild cerebral palsy. They didn't notice it. My mom had two other kids working four jobs, so she, was a young mom. But it took my grandma coming over and going, like, "He's not rolling over, and it's 10 months. What's happening?" Like, so after that, about 10 months old, my mom takes me in, gets me put in this little like tube thing like, that babies get put in because they can't sit still, and does an MRI. Sees I have fluid on the cerebellum of my brain. The doctors go, "Well, he's not going to walk." And my mom, I used to think, was like, "No, we're going to make him walk." She tells me she was just too young to understand the fact that, that was a disability that made it so I probably wasn't going to be able to walk. So like, oh, we'll just put him through therapy. Luckily, 4 years later, every Thursday, 2 hours, I learned to walk. I learned to swim before I could walk. It was easier for me to swim than walk because I would just flail around in the water and I float around. So about 4 years old, I start walking. I'm very clumsy, but it also affects my cognitive function. For people that don't understand that, it means that I process things slower. It still happens to this day. If I'm overtired, overstimulated, I've trained too hard. I've done a 400 so hard, my body like shuts down and it makes me want to, throw up. Things process slower. I'll be driving like 50, thinking I'm going like 80. I feel like Ricky Bobby after his accident. so, um, so as a kid, my parents would explain to people, "Hey, he's not ignoring you. He's just processing things. He is literally saying what you just told him in his head, working it out, and then doing it. Because if not, he will clumsily do it, and it will not happen right." And I'm glad they did, because to the teachers, it really helped them understand. They gave me that leeway. But kids are mean. Okay. I got bullied so much. I lost my two front teeth. Girls would bully me. And it was more the fact that I genuinely wanted to see the kindness in others because I took the time to listen to everybody. This was because if I got into a conversation and my processing acted up, I would be kind of laughed at or like kind of looked at weird. So I learned to read body language, to listen to everything around me so that when I went into a conversation as a kid growing up, into teens and to adulthood, I could kind of anticipate how the conversation would go. I could learn people's body languages so I could kind of guess what they're going to say next. So my brain has that extra couple seconds to go, "Oh, this is what you need to say." So it's not like, "Hey, Ryan, how you doing?" "Oh yeah, I'm doing good." Like,
Yeah.
and I still do it. Lacey Henderson, above knee amputee. She's fantastic. We were doing something at the track in Chula Vista, and I said something, and she's like, "Don't tell me how to feel." And I didn't understand that. That's what she was. She was just messing with me. Drake and Josh reference. "Have a nice day. Don't tell me what to do." And I like kind of walked and I was like, "Ah, get it. I get it." It was super late, but it was because I wasn't focused on her. I wasn't focused on her body language and what her conversation was. And it was just some outside information that my brain was like, "Oh, yeah, that's what it said, just so you know." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that was funny." So, overcoming the bullying. And one thing I learned as an adult is that bullying helped me more than people would think. I luckily had a family that was really resilient, military child, a father that raised me, even though I wasn't his own, Daniel Medrano, two-time, I say two-time, like it's a medal earned. It is a medal earned greater than any medal in the world, in my opinion. He has two Bronze Stars of Valor for being a war hero in Operation Iraqi Freedom. This was before he was even a citizen of the United States. He was from the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo, and he came over to help support his family on that side and to give himself an opportunity here. He joined the military. 21 years later, he retires as a master sergeant, all these coins and medals under his belt. But I think one of his greatest compliments is being such a fantastic dad. He taught me and my siblings more than I would have ever dreamed to learn. The compassion and the love that he gave me allows me to do the same for my daughter, which it technically isn't my own, but I love her like she is mine. And it allowed me to see the good in people. It allowed me to be confident in myself. I remember one time because I wouldn't get picked for a lot because of my disability, and people wouldn't know. They were just like, "Oh, he's kind of a little bit slow at reacting." And my brothers would even pick on me. One time before my parents were really together, he picked me for football over my two brothers. And I remember I was like 6, 7 years old, probably even younger. But I was like, oh my God, somebody wants me on their team. And it made my day because we killed them. but but it was that compassion, that love, that genuine want to spend time with somebody that allowed me to develop myself. And at one point in time, this is years down the road, we're living in Missouri. I remember it to this day, like it was yesterday. He sweeps up a bunch of piles in the back porch. And this is something that could be used for any situation, in my opinion. I've used it for my daughter. I try to keep myself to it as much as possible, but sometimes like it's in the way. But he sweeps up several piles and he says, hey, can you get the dustpan and clean up that pile? He was very specific on his wording. So I would think in my head, that pile, right? So I go sweep that pile, dump it out, put the dustpan. And then he comes to me and he goes, now, you're not in trouble, but what kept you from sweeping up the other piles? I gave you a task, but you could have easily taken a little bit of your time and gone above and beyond this task. What kept you from doing so? And I was like, I've never thought of things that way. I've always thought they asked me to do this, do this. I didn't think they asked me to do this, but I have the ability to do so much more. Let me help them with that. Won't take much time. Doesn't take much effort. And that stuck with me. And I've told him about the story and he doesn't remember it. But I know it happened because it structured so much of my life. It structured me in sports. It structured me in friendships and connecting with people that, yeah, I could just go about my day, minimum energy, hi, hello, bye. But I'm the type of person that wants to make somebody smile, genuine. I will give you a compliment if I think it's a true compliment. I'm not going to lie to you and say your shirt's cool if your shirt's not cool. But if I see something like I like the color of your beanie or your Scully, if you go call it by Scully, it goes well. Would you play it? I will give you that compliment, even if I don't know who you are. I'll be at work and I'll tell somebody, dope shirt, and walk off, and they'll just smile. But that's me connecting with humans. That's me being myself, spreading that light out because every little action has an equal reaction that can spread out and just bring so much light to the world. And when I learned that at such a young age, it allowed me to push myself to be as good as I can be and use my disability when training others in like wrestling, when competing in baseball for, varsity, to push myself to be more than my disability. It is something that is part of me, but it doesn't define me as a person. And that allowed me to go, you know what, I'm going to be, have my cerebral palsy. I was never supposed to walk, but I'm going to take that opportunity I've been given, the life that I have, and the things that I can do that I wasn't supposed to be able to do, and blow it out of the park. I'm going to then share that with others so that they can look at their lives not necessarily the same, but have a positive perspective to go, hey, today's been hard, but I woke up today. It's cold as bullocks outside, and it was yesterday. And if you have me on Instagram, I posted because I was excited. Usually I get to the track, and this is something that always happens. I get to the track, bathrooms are closed, and like, Oh, every time I went before I left, I gotta go again. Every time. And I practice at the track like 4 or 5 times a week. So
Yeah.
and I'm a sprinter. So 4 or 5 times a week, I'm like, I gotta find fast. I gotta drive to the gas station. It was like 30 degrees yesterday, windy at the Coronado track, but the bathrooms were open. And I'll tell you what, I've never been so excited to train in the cold in my life because of that positive note of, hey, yeah, it's cold, but I can deal with the cold. But something I can't control has been blessed. I've been given this opportunity to be able to use the bathroom. I have keys for that. I can't open that. I have to go all the way back home, which is like 15 minutes there and then 15 minutes back. Let me be positive about this opportunity that's been given to me. And I try to do that with problems. And I say problems, but they are opportunities to learn, opportunities to grow. And this has allowed me to go from one job to the next to the next. And it just brings people towards me. And eventually it brought my girlfriend, and her favorite show was Survivor, Survivor, everything. And I'd be watching this and like, you can do that. Come on. She's like, well, then apply. And shortly after COVID, like about a year after COVID, I applied and they called me the next day. Hey, this is Survivor on your knocking on your door. You don't have a voicemail set up? Give me a call because they sent me a text. I was like, no way. I like did all this research, making sure that the area code matched what this guy said he was. Gave him a call, talked for 20, 30 minutes, fantastic conversations. This is weird. What's happening? And the whole time, I wasn't thinking, I want to be on the show. I want to be on the show. I wasn't want to be on the show. I was thinking, being on the show would be fantastic, but I'm going to enjoy the experience of being able to even audition for the show, being able to even have the opportunity to talk to these people and experience what it is to be in this type of lifestyle. So I've always wanted to act. I always wanted to do things like that. And about 6 months later, telling my story like I am now without the survivor portion, I get a call and I'm going to be on Blue Team going to Fiji. I star on Survivor season 43. I make it pretty far. I don't want to spoil it since you haven't heard my story. I made it pretty far. I did a great job. I was myself the whole time. And in doing so, I met this fantastic individual, Noelle Lambert, who is an above knee amputee. Now, she told us that she was a lacrosse coach. We get voted out. She tells me, dude, I'm a Paralympian. You have master palsy. You can be in the Olympics. Let's do this. Told me the steps I needed to take. I said, say less. We started training that day. I was already training. I got voted off. So obviously I didn't win, but I got voted off and I started training immediately the next day. I was carrying weights up this hill, doing like 100 squats, carrying it back down the hill, running 5 minutes and 30-second miles on freaking a treadmill. I was like, I need to beat somebody at something. And then the next day she comes in with, you can beat everybody in the world. So she tells me that I start training immediately. And a lot of people think it's a Cinderella story. Even my nutritionist. Love you, Sally, Australian, great girl, fantastic. But I called her before she was my nutritionist because I had connected with my coach through Noel, Coach Chris Mack, fantastic coach, got me to my medals in Paris, along with Goose and Sally. And she tells me, hey, because I was like, hey, I'm heavy. I'm a heavy sprinter. I sprinted at 210 pounds. The world champion is like buck 50. So I'm pushing a lot more weight than everybody else. That's one of the most compliments I've gotten in track and field is, yeah, you're fast, but you are moving that weight fast. And I'm like, thank you. Like the people look at you and then like, you're supposed to be in football. I'm like, nah, I'm in a sprint. Like
Yeah.
I defy the odds. So I meet Sally. Sally, hey Sally, how can I lose some weight? She's like, well, sprint, you don't really have the sprinter's body. If you look at this person, that's more of the sprinter's body. It's not necessarily losing weight; it's learning the mechanics, learning it, and programming your brain to be able to do it over a period of time. But to even get to the point where you're on the team, you have to race in 2 track meets and get fast enough to qualify for nationals. You have to race fast enough at nationals to make it to the world championship team. And then you have to race internationally to be fast enough to hit the A standard and actually get on Team USA officially. And I was like, I thought in my head, she said, it's a Cinderella story. And I said, well, then put the slipper on my foot. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Say less. That year, hit the A standards in my first track meets fast enough to be technically on the team. Hit them again and made it on the international team in Paris. Debut in Paris 2 years ago, got about fifth, but still ran fast enough in I think my 400 to make it on the team. Made it on the team. Now I go from Paris to Chile to Japan World Championships, placed second in the world in Japan's World Championships for my 400 meter, fifth in the world for the 100 meter. And that's just last year, or last year, technically, because it's,
23.
it's 2023, November 2023. I'm not mistaken. It might have been May. No, it was May 2024. So last
Oh,
year, Japan, fantastic trip. And then from Japan, I made the Paris team after Paris trials, raced against the world champion once again. PR, I had hit like 7 PRs in a row in both jumping, 400 meter and 100 meter. And then from there, went to Paris and went my 100 meter, went from fifth in the world to second in the world by 0.02 seconds.
oh,
0.02 seconds from second to third, and 0.03 seconds from second to fourth. That's how close we were.
wow.
Like I've tried to get people to stop their
Yeah.
stopwatch. They hit 0.09 3 times longer, moving as fast as they possibly can. And
Yeah.
I told them I was coming to the end of the line. I thought in my head, I'm going to have to lean as if a donkey kicked me in the back of the head. That's what I did. Timed it perfectly, leaned right, past that finish line, second in the world. Then I did the same thing in the 400 meter. I was already second in the world, which is actually more nerve wracking than doing the 100 meter, which stalled twice. So we're out on the 100 meter line, and there's 2 resets. We're getting there, and they're like, "Oh, stand up," and it's like, do you guys not understand that I'm in the zone right now? Yeah, going down that track before it leaves my body, and I kept it, and it's not necessarily that I was second in the world or I am consistently second. It was on that day I ran my best race ever, 10.97, 10.97 seconds on my 100. And the people that have previously ran that faster weren't up to the job that day for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And either it's neglect in training, neglect in nutrition, neglect in recovery, a mental state.
Yeah,
All these things take effect. Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
I was gonna say. Probably mental kind of thing, like at that point, because they've been training the same way probably forever. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the only thing I would say I changed is really focusing on my recovery. And that's where I think one of my I'm most grateful for all of the things I've overcome is being able to get into this community and create this community, not create, but be able to be part of this community of people that are like me. Growing up, I was bullied. I was kind of an outcast because I couldn't understand people. So I'd play alone at recess until I understood people more. But that didn't help me understand myself. That didn't allow me to have a role model that was also disabled on TV or in music and in sports. I didn't know about para track and field until I was 24 years old. So a lot of it was my own personal struggle. I would say the closest relation, I'd say luckily, but luckily my disability helped my mother get through her tragic stroke. When I was 11 years old, she had a stroke that killed half her brain. She was never supposed to walk, talk, feed herself again. She cycles, she paints, she runs marathons, she kicks ass, excuse my language. And I got to really connect with her because at one point she looks at me and she goes, and it makes me emotional for her to feel not necessarily pity, but feel kind of bad that her son had to function similar to how she's functioning his whole life. Because she goes, it's so hard. How do you do it? And I'm like, well, mom, you got to understand, it's always been like that for me. So I don't have the contrast. You were
yeah.
Superwoman, and now you can't use your hand. Now it's hard to find this. So it helped me to be there. I was the kid that was always helping her. I was the kid that was always there because I understood how she felt. I was patient because I know that word is right there, but you can't. You just put something down that your brain's like, what? And it's frustrating, but to be able to help my mother through that was one of the best blessings my disability has ever given me, allowed me
And she's
that.
your
It's
inspiration, I would say, right?
so my parents
Growing up.
are huge inspirations. My mom is, like I said, a superhero. She's taught me how to do so much. She was my dad. is a genius combat engineer. Has I think about to go on his second PhD. Is a professor at UTEP. Was a professor at Pittsburgh University. Two Bronze Stars of Valor, which are some of the highest recognitions you can get and medals you can get in the military. War hero. But my mom is a kick-ass single mom, working 4 jobs, making sure she was there for her kids, making sure if somebody says you can't do something or wasn't able to do something, that she was able to do it. Had her stroke, started walking again with half her brain. They would give her MRIs and be like, "How are you talking to me?" I don't know. She said that while she was having her stroke, she spoke to God. And it wasn't as if it was a back and forth conversation, but she would lose consciousness and she would be in a white plane or in kind of a plane itself. And she would ask a question in her head, and before she could finish the thought, the answer would come into her head. And he had told her at one point, and she recently mentioned it, and it made me emotional again. She said, "How? Well, how can I keep going? What's keeping me alive?" And he said, "Love. You're here for love." And she feels she's here to raise her grandchildren. Now that she's had grandchildren, she said it was to raise my children to the point where they would be good enough if I did pass, and to be here to create those memories and those love and that endearment for my grandchildren is why I survive. And it's such a wholesome but true for her. Like that's her open hearts, her heart story. Like it, not to mention she had to have. So her stroke came from a class action lawsuit of birth control that it caused clots when we were traveling from Missouri all the way to Alaska, which is another trip that
Mhm.
is fantastic. Yeah, and we drove. I cut my
Yeah.
leg open in Canada. I was 10 years old, my legs all bleeding everywhere. But we got there, and she has a heart murmur, natural heart murmur. There's a leak in one of her valves, and that allowed the blood clot to pass from her heart instead of causing a heart attack or any type of problems with her heart to clot in the back of her head, causing lack of blood to the left side of her or the right side of her brain because she's affected on her left side. And I was asleep the whole time. So for a couple of weeks, I didn't even know. I was like, "Hey, where's mom?" And everybody would tell me she's at a doctor's appointment. I'm like, "This is the longest doctor's appointment in the history of
3 week
doctor's
appointment.
appointment. Like, what is this?" And it sucked because coming back, the first time I see her is in the hospital. And I'm like, "What happened to mom?" Like this was, and for the longest time, and I know I'm going on tangents, but this all
Fine.
creates who you see. Um, for the longest time when I was young, I was in denial years. I've told her this. I would like watch behind the walls where she couldn't see me and wait for her to use the side of her body she wasn't able supposed to be able to use. Like, "Oh, you grabbed it with your left hand. This was a joke the whole time." Like, because she was my hero. She is my hero. Like her ambition to do what she does, even now, she just had her whole driveway redone, and removed like 10 tons, 20,000 pounds of rock and dirt on her own with the family. I helped move a couple loads when I was off. Somebody helped move a couple loads. But this woman was out here every day. She was like, "They said it was going to cost this much, but if I do this work myself, they would take off like 3,500. That sounds nice. And it looks fantastic. All done with one hand. I, what is this?"
That's
So
insane.
having such amazing inspirations and the support system of my family at home, my own little family, my year and 7 month old son who's at a doctor's appointment right now with his mom, Justine Salais. And I always say that wrong, but I'm like, that's how you said it when I met you. So that's what's in my head. She says Salais. And Aubrey having that support system and the close knit family I have with my brothers and my sisters allows me to really put my nose down and just get stuff done on days where it is literally cold as hell outside. I walked outside to put my son in there, and it's funny because Jay went outside. "Oh, that's not that bad." I said, "I don't know. They said there was a weather warning. Apple warned me. Like, I'm pretty sure it's bad." She said, It's not. If it was windy, it'd be bad." I go out there shirtless because I'm cleaning up and doing stuff, and the wind hits me like a truck. I'm like, "What does she mean?" I was really cold. I put my son in. I strapped him in, and I was like, oh, I had half of mine to just be like, okay, I'll see you later, Alice. I got in the car with him and I was like, we're both freezing together. He had all his layers on. He's like, Dad, it's not that cold. I'm like, it's freezing out here. So having this amazing support system and then the opportunities I've had before the Paralympics, I had Placeto, which is a company in the UK, if I'm not mistaken, and it's overseas. But the main thing about Placeto for me is that they helped me recover. They sent me a device. It was fantastic. And for the longest time, I would gain this pressure buildup here. It would resonate. And then when I'd overtrain, oh, the kitty's being cute. When I would
Won't stop.
overtrain, I have videos on my Instagram where I'm literally laying on the ground because my hamstrings are so locked up that I can't move my legs. Somebody has to either rub them out or stretch them out for about 10, 15 minutes. I would finish races and USADA, which is the United States, Drug Administration, like making sure you're not taking anything while you're competing, would have to wait like 15 minutes of me just moving my legs so they wouldn't cramp up.
Is it like a
Sorry.
Charlie? It feels like a Charlie horse, like that.
So it's like so Charlie horses would be amazing. This is to the point where when you're dehydrated and you wake up in the middle of the
Yeah,
night with a cramp that wants you to die,
yeah, yeah.
times that by two on both legs.
Ugh.
So mine is it comes on and it's from the bottom of my knees. It feels like it's just pulling, and then it stretches the rest of the hamstring, and then the front of the quad, and then the inner hamstring. So if I let it start, what happens is that I'm overstimulated. So my neurons are firing to my nerves incorrectly. So they're saying, work, 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 work. And I'm like, no, we're done. We already finished. Like, please stop. But at the same time, light's making me want to throw up. I have this resonating freaking migraine that's pulsing through my skull. And both my legs are like, we're going to stop working. And I'm like, and I learned sitting down only makes it worse. It makes it go quicker. So like, come on, quicker. So these are like the problems I would have. And so most people, you would hit that point and you'd be like, I don't want to do this again. But to me, it's like I was even faster before I hit that point. Let me see if I can get even faster before I hit that blow up again. Like it would make me want to push even harder. And it was the first time it happened was in Paris. I mean, I've wrestled, I did sports through high school, and I was always varsity. My freshman year, I had to wrestle the team captain to be varsity for my weight class, and I was varsity. They would have to like switch us in and out. So
Yeah.
like we can't have our team captain JV, so you're gonna have to give up some matches, I guess. Um, so I've always pushed myself to be the best, and I've never pushed myself quite as hard as sprinting a 400 or sprinted a broken 400. I mean, even hundreds are fine, but it's going around that track completely once. My PR now is 49:47. Freaking Aussie Treadmills owes me $100 as a representative. That was like, if you break 50, I'll send you 100. I still haven't got it. But it's about finding that boundary and just shattering. And the cool thing was in Paris, I was able to train that hard and then be able to recover even better, both in the recovery center and the training center they had there. But also, I had the pulsatile device, which is the vagus nerve stimulator, which isn't just for athletes. I use it and it stimulates the vagus nerve, which encompasses. It's easier to say, and I've asked several doctors, and they go, "It's easier to say what it doesn't do than what it does do." And it's pretty cool. It hooks up to your phone. There's an app, and it's a pulse stimulator. So it's kind of like stim. You put some goo here, and it stimulates, and it is oh, like I get excited talking about it because for the longest time, even now, I can feel I have my brain is always consistently when I'm thinking both with my ADHD and just with my mouth palsy, sending out signals and not fully recovered quite. So it feels like you have a fog over everything. When you turn it on, for me, it just goes away. Like
like
it feels. Go ahead.
like a meditation kind of thing.
Even higher than that because I am also sponsored by the Cocoon, which does infrared therapy, which is fantastic if you want to get into it yourself. Infrared sauna is better than Regular sauna, due to the fact that it penetrates into the muscles deeper, allowing you to get better recovery, helps with a lot of different heart heart, your cardiovascular, your skincare, your longevity of your health in general. But I, as an athlete, will do a contrast where I will do 12 minutes at about 135 to 155 degrees in the infrared to 40 degrees whirlpool. Now, these whirlpools that they got over there, whirlpool is different than a cold plunge. Cold plunge, if you sit in the same position for a long period of time, because nobody's moving while they're in cold water,
Yeah.
what happens is your body makes a thermal barrier to help keep you warm, to keep you from dying.
Yeah.
Now, whirlpool, you don't have a choice. The water is moving around you. There is no thermal barrier. It is 40 degrees from the beginning to the end. Luckily, you don't have to sit in there that long. You got like 3 to 4 minutes, and that's the contrast. What happens is it dilates your blood vessels during the heat, which allows you to then get the healthy blood to where it needs to go, help get your heart rate up, and then you get into the cold, which helps constrict and push everything out and helps to lower your body temperature, and then also increase your mental sharpness and mental acuity, in my opinion. Because I'll tell you what, cold for sitting in it consciously, like I'm doing this for me. Like
Yeah.
the first time I did it, I went,
Yeah, hyperventilating.
I was on live stream, so I'm sitting here all people are laughing at me. So, but I tell you, 3 times later, when I knew what to expect, when I said breathe into your core, control your heart rate, I was able to get my heart rate. I think the lowest was about 39 beats per minute. Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't even sound like that's possible.
Yeah, it is like,
Yeah.
and it's just, it's when you get to a Zen state. Now, that's where I find meditating. And this is what I'm trying to back to because you said it's like meditation. For me, it's like having a headache and then that headache just disappearing. That's what the passetto does for me. Having an overstimulated mind, if you ever try to go to sleep with things to do, and then you're like, oh, I can't fall asleep. My mind's going 100 miles a minute. And then putting that on and it just being like still water. Like, it's amazing. And like I said, my brother, he has insomnia. He gets it from my mom's side of the family. And one night he was just really struggling. I don't advocate for melatonin gummies and things like that because it is natural for your body to produce it. But if you take supplements for it, it can cause a disruption in your natural sleep cycle. So it's like, hey, try this out. Use it for about 30 minutes before you go to sleep and let me know how you feel. He put it on, and my ears are tingling because of the story. It makes me so happy that it worked for him. He put it on, and he's sitting there. Oh, this is nice. I'm like, I know, right? Like, ooh, I get giddy because it's something that, like, for me, I was going through life thinking this was normal. I didn't even notice I had this pressure. I didn't even. I thought it was a normal thing. And then I put this on, and like, oh, that's not supposed to be there. Like,
Yeah.
what? Like, so I put it on. He puts it on. I come back. We have a duplex. So then I go over to his side and I walk in. It's like, ow, ow, oh. And I took it off and put it to the side. And the next day, I was like, how'd it work? He goes, dude, I can't even remember it finishing. Like, I just knocked out. It's nice. And usually he will be up. He has to have the TV on. Yeah, he lays there for hours. But this thing was like, and partnering with my Whoop, because a Whoop helps to get your statistics for your body, your metrics for your body over a longer period of time. The more you use it, the better it is at telling you, hey, don't do this. Hey, you should do this. Hey, training in the morning's better. I was using that for about 2 weeks while consistently tracking using the Placebo. And within that 2 weeks, in such a short period, not only did my sleep quality improve, my sleep period, my wake during sleep reduced, like the amount of time that I wake during sleep reduced, and my recovery overall improved. Now, of course, there's a compilation of things, but due to the fact that my sleep and my ability to fall asleep quicker also improved, then that would also improve my sleep quality. And then my sleep quality allowed me to wake up and get more stuff done. I
Yeah.
was waking up at like 7 o'clock going to mobility. I don't like waking up at 7 o'clock, but I was like, I'm up. and I'm rested. This is nice. Let me go get this done. So
And you probably have to
honestly,
sleep. You have to probably sleep for less hours too, because you're getting like
oh yeah,
full sleep. Yeah, you don't have
it
to sleep
was
8, 9 hours.
while I was in Paris, and it's funny, while I was in Paris, it was the first time that my whoop was like, you are consistently crushing your sleep. You've been in green for 14 days in a row. Like, I know, right? Like, this is amazing. Like, and the green is positive. It's like, I think it's 56 and higher percent of recovery. The majority, and I say the majority because it's like 70% or higher of people in the world are yellow, which is just it's equal. It's like you're not bad, but you're not good. Like you're just constant. You're not going to improve anything you're doing, but you'll get by. So
Mhm.
the fact that I was able to consistently get in that green, and it's not even like an unpleasant feeling. The shock on it's kind of like relaxed. Because it's just a light shock. And of course you can control it. It's not like a roller coaster, strap you in. Good luck. Like, you can turn it all the way down and get used to it. But I like when you find that sweet spot where the procedural nerve actually runs down. And for me, you can go from your jawline here, and there's like a nerve that you can hit. Oh, there it is. And when you hit it, that's when oh, there it is, and you put it there, and it's just like, I did a video with my friend Satchel, and I put it on him, and legitimately, well, I'm talking about it to the camera, and then he starts dancing, and then you notice he remembers he's being recorded, and he like fixes his posture. So it was great, and we just start vibing out because he was like, "Dude, this thing works." Like I got so excited. And then we go to leave the gym and I forgot to get it off his neck. I was like, okay, see you later. You're gonna let me keep this? Oh no, I don't think I want one of those. Give me that. He got so excited. So we've been training together. He's a college athlete, he does basketball, and he's like, this thing, if I've used this before games to calm my nerves, it's just it is a killer. And I really think it's one of the reasons why it was 0.03 from second to fourth place. And one of the reasons I think I had was better recovery to be able to train harder and to come full circle, you know, having that mind clarity, having that motivation, having those people in my life that have pushed me and put that hand on my back
Yeah.
every time I go to do something, from survivor all the way to silver medal podium in uh, Paris. I just have tried to create the type of community around me and the habits around me to allow myself to say, it's going to be easier to say no to this good thing. It's going to be
Yeah.
easier to say yes to the thing that is harder to do. Like 30 degree running yesterday. My hands are so cold. Like and my brother was like, you should have grabbed my running gloves. I was like, I don't know where they are. He's like, next time they're in one of these drawers. I'm like, you got like 12 drawers.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, come to New York. It's like 20 degrees here every day now.
I used to live in Alaska, and after running
Oh,
yesterday, yeah, negative 75 is the coldest I've
yeah.
ever been.
Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
it was, yeah. And they still had school. They said, we can see you're going to school. There's no black ice. School is on. Driving to on the bus, it felt like you were just in a cold can. Like
Yeah.
the heaters were not
No
working
heat.
at that point. The heat was just being sucked up by the cold air. You had to
Uh,
be like touching the heater, like, please, please, my feet are cold. And at that point in time, you're in high school. Nobody in high school has room in their locker for snow boots and everything. So you just
uh,
wear what you wear in school and like a thick top. That's it. So it is cold. Good times.
yeah, I
Good
could
times.
imagine. So you've pretty much answered all my questions here, so, without me asking them. But we are coming towards the end now. I can't believe it's been 45 minutes. That's crazy.
That always
I,
happens.
I can't believe it. It was like I was like in a time warp. So what we like to ask at the end is like, I know you said you grew up getting bullied and stuff. Maybe there's someone else out there that had a similar situation as you growing up, or they're living with it right now. What is some advice you would give that person, or to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Communication. Believe it or not, communication is a thing that can solve a lot of problems, whether it's war, whether it's a bully, whether it's arguments with your family or a loved one. Being it or religiously talking to God if you are religious as well. communicating with those around you to express how you feel. Hey, this is happening to me, so then they can be there for you. Or also just communicating to the person that is bullying you. It's going to be hard, and they're probably going to be stubborn, but do it enough. Every human has kindness in them, and most people that are bullying are going through something. I used to get punched in the stomach literally every day of the second grade at recess, every day for the same kid because my mom was white and I liked Superman. It was an African American kid, and he didn't like the fact that I liked white stuff. So he would punch me in the stomach, and I would tell my teachers, "Hey, this is happening," and not much was done for it because they never saw it. But to be able to tell people around me, they were like, "Hey, tell me when this happens," and it got taken care of until he knocked my two front teeth out. That's a different story. But communication, being able to communicate to those around you how you feel each day, this is going to build a foundation of trust between those around you and yourself to build that confidence. And hey, I am loved. I'm not supposed to be bullied. And let's say you do have that communication, you don't have that ability to have communication. Start it in here. You have your own back. Be your own friend. Don't be hard on yourself. Because if you mess up or something happens to you and you say, well, you deserve it. Oh, you never get things done. That is not going to build a positive energy towards what you're doing. It's scientifically proven that manifestation and positive thoughts have an effect on the physical world. So there is a scientific proven method to fake it till you make it. Think positively until positive things come to you. I have been able to manifest so many things through positivity and communication with those around me and with myself. And I give myself a hard time if I know I'm not doing my best. Don't be like, you slacked, but it's okay. No, do your best. Do your best for those around you, for yourself. And if you're having a hard day, communicate to yourself, hey, you didn't sleep much last night. You're still doing your best. You're still putting that best foot forward because that's all you can do. We're human. But be grateful that we're human in this century because I am literally talking to you from New York. So it's being able to take that perspective of communicating, being positive, and having a positive outlook on things to change the environment around you to be for you. Because nobody else will do it but you. You got to change. You got to be there for yourself. And
Yeah.
then eventually there will be there people, you'll find people along the way. You will attract the positive energy around along the way of having three or four good friends. That's what I have. Three or four good friends where I'm like, they would die for me, I would die for them. And that was attracted by being a genuine, authentic version of yourself that is there for you and there for those. So
Amazing.
communicate, be positive, and think positively for yourself and for others. Stop yourself. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. That's the last thing I'm going to leave you with, Joe. Is positivity is not easy. It's not. The world is hard. But once you get it, it's like an itch. It's contagious. It's like it's cold outside, but the bathroom's open.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And it is like this smile on my face. I get a warm feeling, a fuzzy feeling when positive things work out. And things just come full circle most of the time. So do your best. If you need to reach out to somebody, there's always somebody, hotlines, new friends, chat groups. Just be safe. Um, the world's brighter than you think. And
Yeah.
there's always another day.
Amazing talking to you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time. I love your mindset on everything. It's like a breath of fresh air talking to you.
Thank you, Joe.
Um,
Appreciate you.
I would love to talk to you again sometime, but we are out of time at this point.
No, you're good. Just let me
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, man. Thanks again. So the pulsetto is the one thing that we want people to, look into. What
Yeah, definitely.
what is your social media that people can, and like if you have a website or something?
Fast underscore track 182. If you go to that, it's going to have a link to the Pulsetto as well, which is pretty cool. It gives you 10% off. Or if you go to the Pulsetto website, put in the discount code, I think it's Ryan10, capital Ryan10, to get 10% off. Sometimes they do discounts as well on their page, and you can add my discount. So it is honestly a fantastic device. That's the only reason I mention it. I don't mention things if I don't believe in them. Because I'm not gonna be like, hey, eat this and make you lose weight. I didn't lose weight. My bad. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
But definitely look into it. Do your own research as well if you're curious. But it is fantastic. Like, it is amazing. I love it. I need to bring it over to my parents. But it's Pulsetto. Their vagus nerve stimulator. Discount is Ryan 10. Fast Track 182 is like everything except for Facebook. It's Ryan. But it's in the link in my bio on Instagram as well. I
Okay.
can send you a link if you want to put it on this as well.
Yeah,
That
we
would be
will put
great.
everything in the description. So,
All
uh,
right, that'd be great.
all right, man. Thanks again for taking the time. We will talk to you soon.
All
Everyone,
right.
yeah, everyone else, thanks for listening to another Fighter Heart podcast. Or if you're watching at home, we will see you again next week.